Hello everyone, this is Dr. E, and for today we're going to be working on problems involving normal probability, which is a type of probability that involves the mean and the standard deviation of your sample or your population. We have many different types of probability. There is the usual probability questions that we normally answer, like what is the probability of getting heads when you flip a coin twice, or what is the probability of getting an even number when you roll a die, or the probability of getting the ace of hearts. Is there an ace of hearts in a standard deck of cards? But what is the probability of drawing an ace of hearts, in a standard deck of hearts? In a standard deck of cards, and those are some of the probability that we normally answer in statistics. But for today, our probability questions involve a normal distribution, the mean of the normal distribution, and the standard deviation of the normal distribution, which what I'm going to be sharing with you in our discussion for this video. And for students who are working with problems involving the z-score and the normal probability, the videos are in the description box down below, which you can practice on, because we know that practice makes perfect. And for teachers, feel free to use all my materials, and hopefully, you'll be able to share yours as well at the end of our video. So first, you need to know how to work with the z-score of a normal distribution. What is a z-score? Why do we use the formula in finding the z-score? And how does it apply to answering word problem involving normal distribution? So you should know that the value of the z-score is basically standardizing your certain value or scores or numerical values in your word problems in terms of the z-score or the mean and the standard deviation of a given normal distribution. And once you know how to use the formula and also how to use the z-score table or the z-table, probably I'll be able to make use of the application a lot better, because now you will have a better idea and visual how the application works, because that's how it is in mathematics. It's not enough that you are too dependent on the application. You also need to know why you're using or why the values in your calculator is giving you this value. And that's the second thing that you need to understand about the normal distribution, is how to use the technology to be able to find or answer word problems. Yes, word problems involving the mean, the standard deviation of a normally distributed population or sample, depending on the word problem that you are working on. And of course, you also need to know how to interpret the values that your calculator or your application is giving you, of course, in a language that most of us will understand. So that would be our example that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So this one is an example of a normal probability, and we're going to be using our application that I'm going to be showing and using to answer this problem. So in this problem, Dr. E's one section of statistics class has a mean score of 70 points with a standard deviation of 10 points. Now, knowing that the grade distribution is normally distributed or normal, what is the probability that a standard or a student will score or has scored higher than 80 points? So the first thing that you need to do is to organize your given values, just like how we answer word problems in algebra, geometry, statistics, calculus. So here, the distribution is normally distributed given by the mean and the standard deviation. And the given mean and the standard deviation is 70 points with a standard deviation of 10 points. And what we need to do is to find the probability that the student selected in this class, in Dr. E's class, has a score that is higher than 80 points. And just like what I'm telling you, mathematics is a language, so we need to know how to read it, and we also need to know how to write it. And of course, understanding the symbol will be able to help us appreciate and make math a little bit more exciting for us. And now that we have our notation, let's draw the curve. So Dr. E statistics test is normally distributed, and this is bell-shaped curve with a mean. The mean is always in the middle, is at 70 points. And we are looking for this particular student, the student who scored higher than 80 points. So this is 70, and we know that 80 is higher than 70, so this is 80 points. And what is the probability that a student scored higher than 80 points? So higher means to this side of your normal distribution. So now that we have our visual, we are now understanding the notation a lot better, which means the percentage that we are going to be looking for and calculating for should be less than 50%, because clearly it's above 50% of the normal distribution, and it's on the tail or right tail of our distribution. So now this is where the magic will happen, because we're not going to be using any formula. We're going to be using this app, so we can find the value of this probability. So I'm going to put the website in the description box below. So by default, the mean and standard deviation is at 0. So all we need to do is to plug in the value of the mean score, and the mean score is 70 points with a standard deviation of 10 points. And now by default, we have the z-scores of a value with a 0 mean and standard deviation of 1. So you can erase it or delete it, but let's just leave it like so. And let's change this, since our curve is looking for above the x or greater than x. So we'll write the x value, which is 80, and it's giving us 0.1587. So this is the value that we are looking for. And I'm going to write it down right here, 0.1587. And now looking back to our work board right here, so we know that this percent right here is about 16%. So 16% of Dr. E students scored higher than 80 points based on this particular exam with a mean of 70 points and standard deviation of 10 points. And you are seeing in the application that there is an above, below, in between, or outside the distribution, because you can answer many types of problems involving this experiment. So you can calculate the probability, let's say, of a student scoring in between. So this is 70 points. So let's say you're looking for the probability that a student in this class, or the percent of students in this class scoring, let's say, 40 points and 85 points. So by doing this, you'll be able to find the percentage of that student using the application, and you can play with it later on after this video. So we have 4 different types of problems that we can work on in that app. Anything that is above the x, anything that is below the x, anything in between the 2 x's, or anything that is outside of the 2 x's. So this is what you will use to be able to answer problems involving normal probabilities. So we have above, below, between, and outside the x values that you are working on. That is why when you are with problems involving the z-scores and normal distribution, it is important that you know how to interpret your word problem correctly, and at the same time, you illustrate your normal distribution by hand so that you can visualize what you're looking for, because by drawing it, you'll be able to visualize that your answer should be above 50% or below 50%. So you already have an idea in your head. You just need to figure out a way on how to find the actual value, and the application will help you in doing that. So for teachers who are working on problems involving normal probability distribution, tell me and share with us how you teach this to your class, and probably an app that you usually use, or maybe technology that you use when you are working on probability involving this. And for students who don't have a graphing calculator, You can use the application that I have just shown you so that you can understand normal probability better and understand how technology is helping you to accurately compute for the probability involving the normal distribution. And again, it's important that you are understanding the concept of the mean, the standard deviation, and the normal curve, so that when you use the application, you'll be able to understand why it's giving you a certain values in your computer. So this is Dr. E, and see you again next time. Bye!